I'll tell you about the main news at this hour. My name's Oleg Borisov. Glad to welcome anyone. 10 people were injured, including 3 children. These are the consequences of the overnight attacks by the Russian Federation's army on the Kharkiv region. Numerous drone strikes on Kharkiv were recorded. As a result, a warehouse and a service station caught fire in the city's industrial district. During the firefighting operation, one of the rescuers was injured and hospitalized. The fire, which covered an area of 1,300 square meters, was extinguished. In addition to Kharkiv, 2 villages in the Kharkiv district were also attacked by Russian forces. In the morning, the Russian army attacked Mykolaiv with a jet-powered drone. As a result, one of the educational institutions came under attack. A school bus caught fire in the courtyard. Employees of the State Emergency Service extinguished the fire. According to the Regional Military Administration, there were no casualties reported so far. Russian occupiers continue to attack Zaporizhzhia. The city's southern district came under attack. A residential apartment building was damaged. The blast wave and shrapnel damaged the building's facade, and windows in the apartments were blown out. According to the Regional Military Administration, a 68-year-old woman required medical assistance. Emergency services are working at the scene. In the morning, Russian forces carried out 6 strikes with guided aerial bombs on the territory of the Sumy community. As a result, infrastructure facilities, vehicles, and non-residential premises were damaged. According to the Regional Military Administration, no people were injured. Inspection of the areas and elimination of the consequences are ongoing. The Kherson region also came under Russian attack. There, at around 10 in the morning, the Russian Federation Army struck with guided aerial bombs. Damage was recorded at social infrastructure facilities. Over the past night, Russian forces launched a total of 133 drones of various types at Ukraine. This was reported by the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Ukrainian air defenders shot down 109 drones. Ukraine is celebrating Air Force Day of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In 4 years of full-scale war, aviation has carried out more than 38,000 sorties, destroyed over 12,000 Russian aerial attack assets, and since February 24, 2022, air defense has destroyed more than 445,000 aerial targets. The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, congratulated the defenders of Ukraine's skies on their holiday and thanked them for their protection even under conditions of missile shortages. Thousands of combat sorties, thousands of targets shot down, and thanks to this, thousands of lives saved. Over the years of war, our air force has become significantly stronger. We have received modern combat aircraft and effective air defense systems. There still aren't enough of these systems to cover all our skies from Russian missiles. But today, Ukraine's air shield is already one of the strongest in Europe, thanks to the professionalism and experience of our warriors, who have proven this time and again by intercepting even the most difficult targets, even when lacking certain equipment. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, president of Ukraine, on Telegram. Meanwhile, Ukraine's long-range sanctions continue to reach strategic targets on the territory of the aggressor country. Last night, Ukraine's defense forces struck the Saratov Oil Refinery, an oil depot, and the Engels airfield in Russia. This was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The Saratov Oil Refinery is one of the largest oil processing enterprises in the Volga region. Its processing capacity is about 7 million tons of oil per year. The Engels airfield is one of Russia's main strategic aviation bases, where Tu-95 MS and Tu-160 bombers are stationed. The Russian military regularly uses these bombers to launch missile strikes on Ukrainian territory. Ukrainian drone forces also weakened air defenses in Russia's Krasnodar Krai and carried out a series of targeted strikes on military facilities. This was reported by the first separate center of the Ukrainian Armed Forces drone systems. According to Ukrainian military sources, the operation was conducted more than 270 kilometers from the line of combat engagement. Now, after such strikes, it will be much harder for Russian troops to protect their airfields and launch sites for Shahed-type drones. A note of protest was delivered to the representative of the Russian embassy in Vilnius. This was reported by the press service of the Foreign Affairs Ministry. In the document, the Lithuanian side strongly condemned the Russian strikes on the capital of Ukraine, which damaged the building of the Lithuanian embassy and created a threat to the safety of the diplomatic mission staff. The Lithuanian Ministry of Foreign Affairs also emphasized that they will demand compensation from Russia for the damage caused. In addition, the country reserves the right to take other retaliatory measures against the Russian Federation. Lithuania once again called on Russia to immediately stop escalating the war and end its aggression against Ukraine. For the first time in 44 years, Hungary has completely shut down its only nuclear power plant, POX. This was announced by the country's Prime Minister, Péter Magyar. The press service of the nuclear power plant urged Hungarians to reduce their electricity consumption, especially during the evening peak hours. Such emergency electricity-saving measures were prompted by a critically low water level in the Danube. Because of this, the metro and trams in Budapest will run more slowly. Some of the decorative lighting on city buildings will be turned off, including the illumination of the Parliament building. And by Monday, they plan to gradually stop illuminating one of the capital's landmarks, the Buda Castle. The government promises that cutting off electricity to citizens' homes will be the very last resort.
We are introducing a new government decree that fundamentally changes the order in which restrictions are implemented. First, we will ask large consumers to voluntarily limit their electricity usage, and we will monitor this constantly. Anyone who fails to meet their obligations can expect sanctions. If further measures are needed, the power system operator may even temporarily disconnect certain large consumers from the grid. Households will be the last in line for restrictions.
Iran and other Middle Eastern countries have asked Washington to refrain from new strikes in connection with reaching an agreement on the main provisions of a future deal. This was reported by U.S. President Donald Trump. He emphasized that Washington was prepared to use unprecedented military force against Iran, but refrained from strikes on the condition that a relevant agreement would be reached as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Iran has stated that it will respond in kind to any new U.S. strikes, including targeting oil fields in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, as well as gas fields in Qatar and Israel. Spain will install a 500-meter deterrent barrier on the maritime border between its enclave Ceuta and neighboring Morocco. This is a response to the mass breakthrough of migrants when tens of thousands of people entered the enclave in a short period of time. The Spanish authorities announced this. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stated that not a single illegal migrant has reached mainland Spain or other EU countries. Meanwhile, Ireland is convening a meeting of the EU Council on Justice and Home Affairs due to the situation in the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. Dozens of people were injured, buildings were destroyed, and cars were damaged. A powerful earthquake with a magnitude of 4.7 struck not far from Naples. Seismologists note that after the main shock, at least 30 aftershocks were recorded. According to preliminary information, 21 people were injured, 2 of them seriously. Houses and cars were damaged, and cracks appeared on buildings. Many people spent the night outdoors, fearing aftershocks. I should note that this is the most powerful earthquake recorded in this area in the last 40 years.
We went outside because we were afraid to stay in our homes, especially with children. The tremors were long and very strong, so we all ran out of our homes. It was impossible and very frightening to stay there. This went on for a long time, and now we don't know what to do next.
A tourist plane crashed during a flight in southern Peru. 13 people die. Local authorities reported this. The plane took off from Pisco Airport. It was supposed to make a tourist flight over the Nazca lines, giant drawings carved into the dry surfaces of the Peruvian plains. However, just a few minutes after takeoff, the aircraft lost contact with the control tower. The causes of the crash have not yet been determined. Local authorities have announced the start of an investigation.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.